What's on your evil mind?
Hold your insulting tongue and mock my words well.
How about this rumor that you are really Iron Man, Mr. Stark?
Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. That's still not coming. There we go. I don't know what's going on with that.
What happened?
I didn't hear it until just like a second ago. I don't know. Oh well.
It's all right.
Yeah, it'll be stitched in post, I'm sure, on the audio version. Anyway, whoa, hold on for a second.
My levels are coming in relatively low.
Who's the matter again? There we go. Okay. Welcome to the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me and Blue Sky. You can also find me at News Nurse Need on Twitter. Blue Sky. You can also find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Oof, yeah, it keeps cutting in and out. So, let me make sure. Nope, it's not cutting out on my end. But the sound effects that I hope you heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the borough of Kings, live and direct.
Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at?
Oh, wait, hold on. Where's my... I know why. Because I wasn't on my...
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
Full location sound bite page.
Okay, sure. But folks, you can find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's cspn.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network's SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
Indeed. And folks, before we get into the proceedings, I just want to say happy Key 3 to the video gaming enjoying folks out there. For some folks who may or may not know, around this time of year, E3 used to happen, where that showcases a lot of the new video games that are coming out for the holiday and next year. Well, that's been replaced with Summer's Games Fest, but some folks affectionately call it the Key 3 because of the person who's running it. Yeah, Summer Games Fest happened tonight, and I know one thing that has came out before this that I know that I'm excited about, that is actually comic book related, that I hope that we will talk about later on. But I'm saying all of that to say that just in case anything else might pop up from the show that I haven't been able to check out yet, it'll be on next week's show.
Okay.
And also, we are coming to you a couple of days later than we normally do because, well, we were on Movie Protocol yet again, and we'll be in another month. But we went on, this was our guilty pleasure Movie Protocol, you might say. Because we both separately went to see John Wick's, from the world of John Wick, The Ballerina.
Right. You know, you could have a little bit less awkward title, but it's okay.
You know. But nevertheless, as we are about to do, we're going to get into our spoiler-free discussion of said movie, which I can safely say, at least between the both of us, safe to say, we have enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I enjoyed everything about it. I thought that the Eve Macaro character was okay. You know, they don't go too deep into it, but then if you think about it, did they really go all that deep into John Wick in the first movie?
Right.
So so ultimately the action carries the day, and the framework of the story carries the day. I definitely felt like there were times when I could sense the video game aspects of the game of the movie, but at the same time, I definitely appreciated the really kind of personal touches for that were exhibited in this movie. Like there's a scene where we see the aftermath of a mission that that the ballerina goes on, and let's just say she's earlier in her career, and because she's using knives, she has to go back and pick up a few, and that's actually really well done. That's actually like, oh, you know what? I could use this. This is still good.
Right.
You know what? I need this. So I thought that was really cool.
Right. Indeed. Also, so the on the video game aspect, yeah, there was a little bit of that, but it wasn't as balls out as the because I don't know if we're thinking about the same part or
Probably.
A similar part to where it would seem very video gaming, but it's kind of funny. I would say, and this was something from the trailer, that part with the flamethrower ended up being more crazier than what the trailer
Right.
kind of portrayed.
Right. So what I give this movie a lot of credit for is definitely subverting expectations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a sequence that we're used to kind of, it's kind of gun shop porn that gets where something gets interrupted,
Right.
and I'm just like, wait, what? We're not going to get the whole scene? What?
I thought the exact same thing. Yeah.
Right. And I thought, and I won't say what what they did that was so creative, because that's kind of spoiling. But we just talked about the flamethrower. The flamethrower sequence was really creative,
Mm-hmm.
as was a use of it's not really a spoiler if I say the use of grenades was super creative. I was like,
yeah,
whoa.
there was a spot in a trailer that showed one part
Right.
of that. Yeah.
That might, what it is. I tend to stay away from the second trailers. I'll stick to the first trailer, and you kind of have to sell me with the first trailer. But with something like the ballerina in the John Wick universe, I'm already sold. So I tend to stay away from that second trailer to avoid being any more spoiled.
Right.
So if what you're saying is true, then the second trailer gives away, or at least hints at, some of those sequences that involve grenades, and I'm like, oh, that was really creative, and that was really inventive. I do recall at least I at least seeing a sequence with a door,
right,
but there's another sequence as part of that comes as part of that's really inventive.
Right. So yeah, like I said, we don't want to get into really spoiler stuff, because like I said, we're kind of hinting at stuff that was already in trailer. I think that particular part probably was in the first trailer too, but I don't remember like all that stuff put together at some point. And yeah, it's probably better off going into these things without having seen more than one or two trailers, because let's face it, these days trailer spells will spoil the whole thing. Luckily, in this particular case, well, I'll put it this way. I was going to say in this particular case that is not true, but also if you've seen more than one, if you've even seen a John Wick movie, you kind of know what you're getting into here. So yeah, but as Agent Henry kind of alluded to, they do kind of subvert a couple of things here, and I kind of like that. It was like, it's kind of, and I don't know if this is what they intended to do, but it kind of felt like, you know what, you've seen this before. We don't have to go through this whole thing. It's like, yeah, you know how this works. If you've seen these movies, you've seen this happened, kind of what happens here. But as I was saying to Agent 70 before the show, when we were talking, there's one part, is a minor part that I kind of, if they do come back for a second one, and I feel like they could very well do that, because things are in this world open enough to be like, you know what, we'll just take this little nugget and then throw it into 3 or 4 more, have it lay the groundwork for the next movie or 3, should they decide to do that. But like I said, there was this one little piece of information that we kind of got like early on and kind of came back through that was like, okay, let's talk about that a little bit. But also, you know, the way it ended, you know, kind of leaves the door open, or I guess closed as it were. Um, but it definitely leaves it open for the characters to come back, whether in the next proper John Wick movie or in a, you know, a sequel to itself, which I
Right,
feel like
right,
that's
right,
probably something they'll do.
right, right, right. I definitely was surprised. I think the biggest surprise was that a cameo appearance that you thought was going to happen happened, and it was a lot longer than we thought it was going to be.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 And I must have, well, or maybe this wasn't in any of the trailers, but there was also, yeah, I don't know if it's the same cameo that you're thinking about, but there was definitely somebody that I did not know was in the movie that showed up, and was like, oh, okay, of course that dude's in here. And I don't know why. I just was like, yeah, okay, sure, that somehow that makes some sort of sense.
Sure.
For this person to show up, who is not of that world anyway. So I was like, all right, so, you know. But that being said, yeah, thumbs up for the movie. You know, like I said, it's a these movies are popcorn action movies, and therefore the bar should not be, you know, spec'd very high for that. Although, you know, like I said, the John Wick movies have tried to top themselves each and every time, and in a couple of cases in here, they continue to do so here with this movie. But at the same time,
Right, there's
it's
a
also
sequence with ice skates that's pretty good.
yes.
You know, there's a couple of sequences in a particular well, let's just say close quarters, and again, lots of grenade work, which is really inventive. So I like that.
Right. So, you know, so they're still pushing things in that, which is kind of which is great, because like I said, because it could very well be like, yeah, at parts it feels a little bit cookie cutter with the others, but it's still great action. Whether
Mhm.
that is the case, because it kind of starts off with me, and then they was like, well, let's just do this other thing. I found myself, and I don't know if you did this, and no one else did, and I almost texted you to ask this question in the first place,
So-
to kind of save me a couple of minutes. But there was no after credit scene, because I'm conditioned at this point.
Right, same.
gotta
We
sit.
both, you know, my friends and I, we all looked that up and saw that there was none.
Yes, I didn't even look it
But
up.
we
So
all, yeah, we are definitely conditioned
yeah.
to look for it.
So everybody in the theater, and granted, it was a decent sized crowd, but it wasn't, you know, a big crowd, but it was decent size. Everybody pretty much left, and I was like, I went with my wife and was like, hold on, we're just gonna chill for a second, see just in case, see if it you know, if it pops off, and it didn't. So I was like, all right, sure,
Right.
why not? Just
Right. There was we talked about this, I believe, on the show, but it definitely came up in our pre-production meeting that the opening for Ballerina appeared to have started Wednesday. There were showing or screenings on Wednesday, and you know, we ended up going on Thursday because that's the date that we had set and we had planned on. And you know, my theater was, let's say, 3/4 full, because all of the upper was taken, right? The
And you
mid
went
and
at
the
night,
upper was taken. Everything up front was empty.
right? And you
But
went at night,
right.
so yeah, which to be
That
expected, you know.
Yeah, exactly. That's generally, like, unless a movie is like really you know, hyped or whatever, you know, those are usually the only times that the front is taken up. So and I've had to sit up front on occasion. So
Mhm.
I definitely know what that's like. But you know, we definitely had enough lead time to buy tickets on this, and I had you know, tickets, you know, like dead center right in the back, you know, you know, like halfway up. It was pretty good. So
Right. As much as that's the sweet spot, I hate sitting in the middle for some odd reason. So I kind of get in that middle-ish aisle, but at one of the ends.
gotcha.
But yeah, the sweet spot is right there in the middle, and that would be normally would be the great spot to be. But I don't, for some strange reason, I hate being quote unquote pinned up in there. Even though I could have gotten tickets for that section there, you know, and Like I said,
Right. It all
despite-
depends. Yeah, I was about to say it all depends on how comfortable it is and how comfortable you are with people walking past.
right.
You know. So I get that.
So-
that. Anyway.
But yeah, so yeah, that's, it was, you know, if you get a chance to see the Ballerina, you know, I know there are people who are out there like, well, so and so said somebody, you know, there's always somebody said it wasn't good, so I didn't watch it. Don't do that. Sometimes you gotta see things for yourself, man. That's just dumb.
Right, I mean, listen, if the action genre is not for you, fine, we get
that's
that.
one thing,
But don't
right.
yuck people's yum, all that stuff, you know?
Well, it's not even that. It's just like, well, there is that also, but it's like, no, why are you taking this other person's opinion? Like, you might trust this person's opinion, whatever, but sometimes you got to see things for yourself, because just because they didn't like it or didn't care for it, doesn't mean that you might not. You know, so it's crazy that people. I have heard that on more than one occasion, and it's usually from younger people, but that's a whole nother situation.
Sure.
But that being said, you know, we're gonna briskly run away, crawl away, fight our way out of this out of this discussion, because, well, I guess the one thing I'll ask in closing: do you think you see yourself watching it again in the theaters?
Probably not, because I thought it was a good experience. I'm probably going to wait for home video. When I say home video, I really mean streaming, right? Let's you know, just for clarity's sake. I'll wait for that, but I definitely will want to watch it again, because the scenes are pretty inventive. Like I said, they actually did a good job of being creative,
Right.
and you know, leaning into the differences between a ballerina and, you know, someone who would come across the training regimen, you know, someone that you would come across who performed the training regimen that John Wick did.
Well, I guess we don't know if there's nothing that, I mean, outside of obvious differences, that some of the training is not that different.
Right.
That part we don't necessarily know. I mean, for all we know, what we do know is, as I've jokingly said to Agent 70 prior to this, it's basically the Wick Red Room in this particular situation.
Yes, that's precisely what it is.
So nice that whatever other differences there may or may not be in that between, you know, which I don't want to believe there is that much, because of one scene in particularly when you see the training montage. But who's to say? Maybe they'll get into that in some other time. But regardless, yeah, good stuff. Ballerina, if you get a chance to go check out the Ballerina, you should. It's you've liked, especially if you like the other John Wick movies, I think you'll appreciate this. That being said, we're gonna push off into the books of the week, starting off with Batgirl number 8.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we start off with. It's kind of a mild surprise. So Batgirl number 8 is written by Tate Brombell, with art by Isaac Goodhart, colors by Mike Spicer, and letters by another lettering python, not our favorite, but another lettering python, Tom Napolitano. I confess to not being that familiar with much of the Suicide Squad side of the DC canon, right? But this issue, you know, which takes us further down memory lane with Lady Shiva, goes to kind of enlighten someone like me and make it more friendly for new readers, where we get these hints of these kind of longtime DC characters that have woven their way into the Suicide Squad, Batman corner of the Marvel universe, and not Marvel universe, corner of the DC universe, that is. And, you know, at least, you know, recontextualizes everything and reminds us how far back some of these characters actually do go. Yes, this is, DC All In. Yes, this is, the latest reboot of DC's continuity. So they're free to describe and redescribe and recontextualize how a lot of people have come together, in the past. But it's still, this is this is helpful for people who are just starting out with DC All In continuity, and reminding us all that, yeah, these characters really do go back a long way, but it's been a while since they've had to describe it, so they're going to describe it here. And I forget, I personally didn't read Batgirl or wasn't familiar with Cassandra Cain at all, and didn't realize that Cassandra Cain was connected with all these, like I said, Suicide Squad corner, Batman corner part of the DC universe that way. And so we're seeing here like an exploration of her past through Lady Shiva's past. So that part I enjoyed. I kind of missed Takamiyazawa's art on this.
Right,
So.
that's when you jumped on this, or that's where you jumped on this.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. That's why I jumped on this book, because he was on art.
Right. So, yeah. I'm trying. What else was I going to say about this? Because that was a point I was going to. Well, so to your point of the all in stuff, I will say this, and it also comes in with the curiosity of that. I know Mark Waid is doing that history of the DC universe thing, and I don't remember when that's supposed to be coming out. So I'm very curious as to how that's going to lay out with this new stuff in it so recently,
Right.
with this all in stuff, or where it's going to end. But that's I'd rather see it get out there first, just to kind of get an idea of that before that. That being said, it will be curious if the retextualizing, as you say, will be in that book, or they are going to take some semblances of the old canons and just kind of put it all in there.
Exactly.
But that being said, until we wait until to see when that happens, like I said, like Age of 70, I'm not that familiar with Cassandra Cain as well, or anything. And as far as Lady Shiva is concerned, that's why I only knew that they were linked as they are. But also, this continues to bring up a curiosity with me, because in this chapter, in this story, in Batgirl, kind of supposes that, well, Lady Shiva's not around for for what reason I won't give away, even though that just happened a couple of issues ago. But also at the same time, there was a recent Black Canary Lady Shiva story that was out there, and I'm not entirely sure when that took place in relation to this.
Right. No,
So
I get that.
So I say all that to say that if indeed Lady Shiva is not around anymore, then that I would suppose that other book takes place prior to this. But also, I'm just like with Marvel Universe, and given DC's crazy history, I don't believe a character is dead until somebody actually comes out and says that, and even then, you can't believe
this is
it,
the
because
DC universe. There are Lazarus pits everywhere.
Exactly, and you have said that before, so which
Right.
brings to that. So, but I mean, for what it's worth, it is definitely like, well, you know what? Since we took that character off the board, and this character Cassandra Cain is tied to her, let's just weirdly enough use this to give some backstory on that character who is out of the picture right now, and probably more than likely we'll bring that character back in in the next arc. So
Right. And what's funny about it is it led me down a Google rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Because I was very much looking at these characters who are introduced in this story, in flashback. And I'm like, oh, okay, so this is how they're connected.
Right. And I knew those two characters by name, but my DC history, as I've said before, is not that great to where I would know
right
great
on
lists about
site.
them.
Exactly. I would not know on site, and I would not know how far back it goes, and I would not know how deeply they're connected. So I definitely appreciated, like I said, the recontextualization of seeing these characters for some people, right, for the new reader for the first time, and then kind of putting them together in this story and seeing how if you really wanted to, just like I did, you could look up the character histories and see how they all kind of fit together, how they used to fit together, and how they're fitting together in the all-in continuity.
Right, like whether this is all new or no, there's actually some history around there. They're just kind of filling in some
Right.
shadings on it. So
Right.
But yeah, that's Batgirl number 8. Next up, we are going to go to. Guess what, folks? Buckle up, because we have an event. We have an event to talk about, and we can finally say the words that granted have said on a few different occasions, and that is Hickman Mumbo Jumbo with
There's a bunch here.
Yes, Imperial number 1 of 4.
All right, Imperial number 1 of 4 is written by Jonathan Hickman of the Mumbo Jumbo Hickmans. I'm kidding. With art by Ivan Coelho and Federico Vicentini. Colors are by Federico Blee, and letters are by VC's Corey Petit. So yeah, we kind of got spoiled over the last several weeks about the main premise of the inciting incident behind this event series, and we get more fleshed out. We get it more fleshed out. We also get a better idea of who the players are, at least initially, in this story. It definitely rings very familiar to me, similar to Infinity, right? Because there are, lots of different worlds involved. It's a corner of the Marvel universe that we have not really explored much since we last had a Guardians book. And speaking of the Guardians, we have some returning characters from the Guardians book here, as well as some characters we've seen in the pages of Phoenix relatively recently. And so we have this kind of a Star Wars-esque plot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of a, we're dealing with like an let's just say we're dealing with, we'll speak in Star Wars terms, an Imperial Senate conspiracy.
Sort of, yeah.
Right?
You can liken it, yeah.
Right. That's one way to, listen, it could be a Federation conspiracy. There's, there, like, if you want to speak in Star Trek terms,
Honestly, it probably would be more of a Federation conspiracy as I'm thinking about it, but either way works. So
right, and that's the best way to put it, because that's what gets the ball rolling,
right,
and that's how we get to see some of the characters get pulled into the web of this story,
and some who get pulled in by being framed in the story,
right,
potentially,
right,
but
right.
So yeah, I will say that just go ahead and say it once again, as I said before the show and elsewhere, or probably elsewhere. We're getting Hickman Mumbo Jumbo in full blast, but in bite-sized chunks, as I told Agent 70 before the show, and it works here, but it's still there. You can't hide it. And nor would you want to, because let's face it, at this point is damn near signature. And also shout out to our guy Tim Dog 98 for that term.
Absolutely,
that we love using. But yeah, like Agent 7 said, we get to see some folks come there. We damn sure didn't know where Amadeus Cho was since Champions ended.
Well, he's appeared in the pages of the Hulk series. I just saw, just by flipping through a couple of Hulk pages from like the last year, like the last 6 months.
Oh,
but
well, which
ultimately,
would make sense now.
Right, you know, like we've seen Amadeus, you know, as Brawn in the pages of that Doom. Wait, is he in that Doom Academy book? Not Doom Academy, Doom Division.
No. Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
Like the only other time we've seen him recently was that his anniversary thing, and you know, and from what you say, I guess since him showing up in Hulk makes sense. Like I said,
Right.
buffering up for this, but
Right. Definitely in the Hulk. Definitely in the Hulk pages of the Hulk.
Yeah, but neither one has been reading that, so it still stands. But regardless, it's been a while, one way or the other, since we've seen that.
Sure,
dude.
absolutely.
And of course, it's he, Jen Walters, and Bruce Banner out in space, which kind of kicks all of this off, which makes some sense. And I will say that if you haven't been spoiled on the catalyst, the death catalyst for this, not the one that folks were expecting to be the case.
Right.
Coming into this. In fact, I know we talked about it last week in the news section, but and we tried not to spoil it then, but still, you know, the death that we don't even get to see at that is not a singular event. Let's just say there is definitely conspiracy going on.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was about to say there's definitely conspiracy going on, and that kicks all this off and just kind of leads to intrigue and kind of putting people in places. And also, I will go say it while I'm thinking about it. A longer book, a bigger book than I expected it to be, because we knew he was going to get more pages for this, especially for being 4 issues. I wasn't expecting 52.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Gotcha. C-O-N-spiracy. That's what we got here right now, folks.
What were you gonna say?
So, I had something very quick to mention, and it just slipped my tongue.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It just slipped my tongue. I'm trying to see. Well, we also hadn't seen, you know, the Kree Skrull Empire too much until recently, and you know they're obviously taking front and center stage. Oh, and we get to see a scene where Gladiator Kalark, right, does his duty as the Majester of the Imperial. Apparently, the Imperial Guard is now decommissioned. What happened? All these Imperial Guard people. I'm like, what?
Where did it happen? Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, wait. So they're all just hanging out, and you know, but Kalark is still, you know, doing his thing, and that's where I thought we would see somebody else go down, but we didn't.
Right. Because we thought if that was going to happen, that was going to be the impetus for this whole thing, and it was not the case, and turns out somebody totally different.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, either one would make a pretty powerful character in the Marvel universe very angry. Now you've made arguably the worst person you want to make angry.
Yes, but also,
and that's. I'm sorry.
No,
I was just going to add that, and that seems to be, you know, the impetus for this story, at least so far.
Right, but also pretty funny that said character gets introduced in the MCU fairly recently.
Right.
When we had not even at that point had not seen this character in I don't know how long, probably since the event that brought him up in the first place. I don't know. Well, no, he's probably come up since then. I take that back, but still, it has been quite a while. Wherein the other character that we thought would have been the one to catch it, we've seen here and there more recently. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good popping off. I dare say. I mean, that should not be a surprise if you know enjoy Hickman's work. You know, the intrigue is there. There's like, okay, where's this gonna go? We need to find out. You know, and of course the other question is like, wait, when did this happen? As I was saying, like, when the hell did New Sakar become a thing? Also, which I know we asked that previously, and X, Y, and other things that you could bring out from this. But I guess this is the whole reason why this is also coming up, is because you know the cosmic part of the Marvel universe has been kind of languishing is probably the not the right word, but it's the one I'm going to
It's
use.
close. Right, it's
Yeah.
close. Languishing, or at least, quiet.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
You
we
know,
got Phoenix out there, but still, that's not really making the whole corner.
Exactly. And we obviously see this as a way to kickstart that corner of the Marvel universe. Uh Before we move on to the next book, who do you think is behind the conspiracy that is the characters who are at the beginning of the book?
So that I'm glad you brought that up because that was the thing I was going to bring up. So I will say this much. So slight spoiler, but not really. But we start off with a game, and I feel like whenever in the Marvel universe there is a game that is to be played with two people, one of them we pretty much know who it's probably going to be, and I suspect that could be one of the players. We just don't know who this other person that we only see in slight shade shadow get a grin of.
Right.
So whoever that person is probably is the one behind it. Whenever that person gets revealed, whoever that is, and it's probably somebody new. Oh, well, actually, I shouldn't say that. We don't know. It could very well be somebody new.
Right.
I will say that because usually in a situation like that, that kind of is the case because we have seen that happen before. Not saying that
Sure.
but that is what the case is. Or it could be somebody we do know, and it's just like, no, we just here's something new for this person to do because got something.
Exactly.
So, that being said, it's a good question as to who that person is first of all before we even get to everything else is the whys are going to come for certain. So we find out who that person is, and if that is not the person that is behind them, then they're probably behind the person who is behind it, and that person is probably might be a new player in things. I would suspect one way or another. There's probably a new cosmic player in the game that's probably doing this because I can't see any of the old groups doing this, but they could also do that. That's the beautiful thing about this. Like, you know what? We're tired of the way things been, so therefore we just decided to, upend the table.
Right. That's why I said it kind of reminded me of Infinity,
Mm-hmm.
because with Infinity you had the Builders, and that was a new faction basically that Hickman introduced to create like another player on the board. In addition to Thanos and his whatchamacallit, what is this group called? The Children of Thanos.
Yeah, I was about to say the Twilight. No, not Twilight. You know what? I just forgot just that quick. And some of them have popped up. That's kind of funny. They have came and they have gone. But yes, we'll go with Children because I want to call them the Twilight Court or something like that, but it was like something.
That's another group. The Ashen Combine is a separate group. I know,
but a similar one.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, the names of those people will come up at some point. I'm sure. If Von Gloom was in the chat, he'd probably even know, but he's not. That being said, like I said, Imperial
the Black Order.
Yes, yeah, it was still some similar name like that. There you go.
Yeah.
So there you go. Mission. Way to go, Gumshoes. But yeah, there's really not much else to say about this that won't spoil things outside of the fact that, hey, it's cosmic, it's Hickman Mumbo Jumbo. It's very interesting pop off of this because, like I said, there's going to be some other players to come into that were mentioned, and for very definite reasons. In fact, considering the next book that we're about to talk about, kind of aligned, we will say. And since I just went ahead and said that, I'm just going to say that our next book is Marvel Knights, The World to Come. Wait, I'm sorry. Did you? That is. Wait. Hold on. I'm sorry. That's
yes, I did.
Okay. Yeah,
we're talking about the Black Panther book. Yes.
Marvel Knights, the World to Come, number 106. I was like, I wanted to make sure that was the one that we had read in common, and because I wrote it down. But there we go.
Right. It just doesn't say Black Panther or anything.
Right.
So yes, Marvel Knights: The World to Come, #1 of 6, is written by Christopher Priest and Joe Quesada, with art by Joe Quesada, colors by Richard Isanove, letters are by Richard Starkings, and comic crafts Tyler Smith. So, as I said, this is a Black Panther centric story. It definitely has a what if tinge to it because we're jumping forward in time, and there are a couple of seminal moments that are deemed to have already happened that have not happened in not our continuity, in the current Marvel continuity.
Right.
And we go from there, and ultimately there is, at the end of the issue, a pretty fun reveal because you're just like, wait, let me look at this art again. And I'll leave it at that. I'll pass the baton to Roddykat.
Yeah, I found myself audibly saying, "Wait, what?" when the reveal happened.
What you talking about, Willis?
Exactly. So yeah, like he just said, there is some time skipping and some backwards because kind of remind folks that hey, T'Challa's kind of had a few different relationships and even giving commentary on how he handled said relationships.
Right.
That being the kid. And we are led to believe, and as Angel 70 said, the kind of what if type fashion, things could go a particular, or things could have or will possibly go a certain way in one of those relationships, leading to what happens in this. But it still does not prepare you for the reveal at the end, because I was like, okay, I know about this relationship, sure, that I guess that could make sense, but you also know about this other relationship they talked about first. Of course, is the main one that most folks, or some folks don't like, but most folks know about, and I still hope for. But there's definitely feels to be a alternate history tinge here, as I said in my notes, and as Agent 70 just said, with the what if quality of this, but also still compelling. And I will also go so far as to say that, hey, guess what, folks? And the back of this book, I don't know if did you read past the story?
Oh, I did.
Yeah. So there is kind of it's not a letters page, but kind of a data page where there's a witness testifying to stuff, and almost like a footnote style as to certain events that happen in Priest's run of Black Panther, or possibly leading up to in a case, and suggesting something at the end of, or at that point.
Right. Reminding everyone what the character's history is with regards to, for me, it's always a retcon, but I get it. It's a good retcon about why T'Challa is, invited, and finds himself on the Avengers. And ultimately, once you take all of that context and place it onto where we find the character at the beginning of this story, it helps to fill in some gaps if you're trying to make this as new reader friendly as possible.
Right. But also goes so far as to basically, and actually it even says it in the back of that, it's like, hey, this book's coming out monthly, so if you are familiar with Priest's run of Black Panther or not, and want to get familiar with, you might want to revisit that book or visit that book, because even it says, like, if you hadn't read it, why haven't you? It's basically saying something along those lines, which I will say again, as I have said previously in the past, Priest's version of Black Panther is the definitive version of Black Panther, and that is also noted pretty much in the MCU. Because of the use in the MCU. But Priest's run is great. I love it. And it's been a while since I have actually revisited that run. And even while I was reading this, before I even got to that point to where it says, hey, you might want to revisit, I found myself thinking about it.
Sure.
From
and I'll tell you.
Go ahead.
Right. And I'll tell you that, I definitely could use a refresher on Priest's run, because I was on it early as a collector, and then I dropped off because of budgetary concerns and constraints. And so, now that we have our favorite tool, that's not a sponsor, Marvel Unlimited,
Indeed.
I should definitely go back and read what I missed.
It's true. It's a great resource. It's a great resource. But yeah, that being said, wait, you did mention the letters on this? Did you? Or
Yes, Richard Starkings and Comic Craft's Tyler Smith.
Yeah,
Welcome
okay.
back to Marvel, Richard Starkings and Comic Craft.
I know, right? That was the thing that was kind of struck me. I was like, huh, it's been a while for that name.
Yeah,
for both of those names actually, probably, but Starkings for sure. But yeah, I enjoyed this read. I guess I can say it's a potential click of the week for me, but that, like, between that and Imperial,
yeah, it was good. Listen, there are some really big books out this weekend. I haven't gotten to what's probably going to be my click of the week, but those are two really good releases that came out this week.
Right, and the one he's probably alluding to is probably the one that I didn't get to, which I'm probably going to read not far, after we get off of here or something, because it was one I was kind of looking forward to checking out for reasons. But that being the case, we have finished with the books that we have in common. Let's do a little rapid fire.
All righty, rapid fire review time. Here we go, folks.
I ain't got time to bleed.
All right, first up is Amazing Spider-Man #5. It's written by Joe Kelly with art by Pepe Larraz, colors by Marte Gracia, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So we have the finale of this Hobgoblin story, and we have also kind of a tie up, basically the hallucinogenic induced flashback of a adolescent Peter who may not have been as squeaky clean as we were always taught or told he had been, right? These flashbacks kind of wrap up in this issue, and it's it's kind of interesting to see how that dynamic changes how we view Peter growing up under the care of Uncle Ben and Aunt May, right? That's really what we're getting out of this first arc, and we'll see if Joe Kelly decides to continue that particular web, no pun intended, every pun intended, come on, that particular web, strand of web of the Spider-Man story, right?
Right. Question before you go on.
Sure.
Or were you finished? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I don't know. Is it just me again? I feel like we've talked about this before, but those flashbacks, did they give you a whiff of Cap's flashbacks before Hydra Cap? I feel like we might have talked about this before. Like, it felt like it might be going that way, even if it doesn't.
I had not thought of it that way. I thought it was, I honestly thought it was just like kind of prime retconning ground, like fertile retconning ground,
Right.
because that's just an aspect of the Parker mythos, especially now that with the rubber band continuity, Petey's not growing up in the 60s anymore.
Right. Okay, gotcha.
You know what I mean? So it kind of changes, and more. I hate to make this the word of the day, but recontextualizes his origin.
Gotcha. Sure. Understood.
Right. So, but no, I the one thing I wanted to add at the end of my commentary on this book, my review of the book, is that Pepe Larraz is doing really good work. Like there are a lot of really great action sequences and just angles that he decides to take, and it's really good to look at. So that's the story is a little bit hit and miss for me, but the art is definitely a draw.
Gotcha.
Next up is Daredevil #22. It's written by Saladin Ahmed with pencils by Jose Luis Suarez and Carlos Nieto. Inks are by Oren Jr., Jonas Trindade, and Carlos Nieto. And colors are by Jesus Bertov. Letters on this book are by Clayton Cowles, or VC's Clayton Cowles. So we get some more The Last of Us slash Daredevil slash lots of cordyceps. You know, we get a version of The Last of Us monsters and bloaters or whatever in Daredevil. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit on the nose, but you know, if you're familiar with the show and maybe you're not so familiar with the game, or if you're familiar with both, you can definitely see where Saladin Ahmed is drawing his inspiration from. And you know, while it's kind of groan inducing, I get it. Right? That's the best thing I can say about it. So I'm going to get to now the best book I read this week. Always knocks my socks off. Is Immortal Thor number 24. And I read some good books this week. Imperial is good. Marvel Knights The World to Come is good. And I've got one last book that was okay, right? But Immortal Thor is always a winner with me. It's written by Al Ewing with art by Jan Bazaldua. Colors are by Matt Hollingsworth and letters are by VC's Joe Sabino. So my understanding is that this is the penultimate issue of this run. It's not the end of Thor, but it is the virtual end of this Immortal Thor story, right? And what's teased, if a character is so-called immortal, well, maybe that character might meet their end, right? And the way Al Ewing tells it, the way the pages are laid out, the almost operatic kind of layout of it, it's you know, it's like a heroic tale. It's like Beowulf. It's like you know, it's mythology on steroids, basically, with superhero aspects to it. It's just a lot of fun. Definitely, like, I'm not even gonna beat around the bush here. This is my click of the week, but I can give you my candidates when we get to the click of the week section, right? Next up for me is Storm number 9. Roddykat will definitely get to this book. It's written by Murewa Ayodele with art by Lucas Vernek, colors by Alex Guimarães, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. Now, I made a joke with Roddykat in our back channel chat just before coming on, basically like pre-production to our pre-production. And I said that reading Storm number 9 put me to sleep only because I needed to catch up on 3 issues. And I was probably reclined when I was reading them. So it absolutely knocked me out. It took a lot of energy to read 3 issues of Storm to catch up. And I kind of understand now where Ayodele is going with this, where it's almost like another CON conspiracy. I've really got to get a clip of that from In Living Color. That Storm's power is amplified by a certain, like, elder, not elder god is the wrong word, like an aspect of the Marvel universe, right? Is basically amplifying Storm's power and using her as like an avatar for that entity, right? So we have background is not the best way to put it. We have more explanation, more exploration of how that works and where that might eventually lead. So that's where we find ourselves in Storm number 9. Next up is X-Men number 17. It's written by Jed MacKay with pencils by Ryan Stegman, inks by J.P. Mayer, Ryan Stegman, and Livesay. Colors are by Fair Cifuentes Sudro, and letters are by VC's Clayton Cowles. This is the next chapter in this new X-Men versus old X-Men battle, with the new X-Men being organized by this 3K group, and we have some more insight into who the 3K group is. I'll say that we're probably looking at the next issue with some clearly telegraphed changes in allegiance, we'll say. And you know, I'll leave it at that. This is just the next chapter in MacKay's story about this group of X-Men who are Following the lead of Cyclops, who is self-assured and more so now than ever before, obviously in the wake of the Krakoan era. So he is, trying to be the best leader he can be. They're trying to make him appear, if not an equal to the best leaders in the Marvel universe. Still at the end of the day, most people are going to defer to Captain America, but more so now than before with the development of the Scott Summers character, they're probably going to look at Scott as more of like a military, or at least a paramilitary leader or co-leader, or if the groups have to come together, he would definitely be in the leadership tree and structure. Last but not least is Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion #1 of 5. It's written by Dennis Camp and Cody Ziegler. Art by Jonas Scharf. Colors are by Edgar Delgado, and letters are by VC's Corey Petit. I had not read this my first go around in my reading for this week, but I was able to squeeze it in, and I'm glad I did. It's an interesting look at how Miles, let's face it, it's not a spoiler here, returns to an alternate universe he does not recognize, right? Because it's not his alternate universe. And it's a new alternate universe populated by beings that the maker never intended to, never wanted to see, that Tony Stark found a way to have happen, that is. And ultimately, it is a cool contrast in like the old Ultimate Universe and the new Ultimate Universe. And we'll see how that plays out from here. It's only issue #1. I'm sure Roddykat is going to enjoy this. And that's it for me.
Check it out. I kind of wonder, going into this, is there a current Ultimate Universe version of Miles that might be out there?
Read the issue.
Oh, okay. Alrighty then. That being said, let me get to my books then, and we're going to start off with Star Trek #32, written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, former guests of the show. Art by David Tinto. Colors by Lee Luffridge, and letters by Clayton Cowles. So, this is the last. Well, this is the last part of the Lore War crossover event, but not the last story in it, if that makes any sense. Like this is the last part. So it was 5 parts. There is a mega issue that is coming out probably next week or week after next. I'm not sure when. That's going to tie everything back up together and end everything. And by end everything also means that this run, sounds like from what I read at the back of this issue, is going to end this run of Star Trek and Star Trek Defiant books. So I'm not sure if they are going to come back at any point in time, or it sounds like there is another Star Trek book that is coming, and Lower Decks is still going to be out there. But these 2 books sounds like, from if I read that correctly, those books are kind of going away after this. So, in true Star Trek fashion, excuse me. Things were looking kind of bad, but then they pulled their way out. And that kind of all mostly happens in the span of this book. It also ties into the book that I talked about last week with Shaq's Worst Day, because that kind of gets referenced. And there at the beginning of this book kind of starts off with a character saying goodbye. So I'm kind of wondering if that character is actually going to, well, I wouldn't believe that to be the case given what happens at the end of this, but at the same time, in some way, shape, or form, maybe a character might come back for the Omega issue for some reason. But yeah, like this kind of brings the whole, hey, lore made a universe. Basically, it was basically Age of Apocalypse, but with lore in charge, in a way. And of course, there was a way to kind of get out of it. And surprisingly enough, has a little bit to do with his brother, but not really. But he did kind of help out at the end. So it was a nice, interesting end to the lore war stuff, and the finding out that both books are going to end would kind of make me kind of bum me out just a little bit. But at the same time, then things don't stay forever, I guess. And it's been a couple of years and with some good stories in it, so I can't be too mad about it. So we'll just have to see what the mega issue brings about when that happens. Next book, excuse me, Absolute Green Lantern #3. I think Agent 70 is probably gonna check this out at some point.
Right. Listen, it's only up to 3, which is good. So I only have to catch up to 2 and 3. I've read the first issue, have not read the second, nor the third. Nor the third.
Right. And they read fairly breezy, so it wouldn't be that much to catch up on. Of course, not of course, but it's being written by Al Ewing with art and colors by Janoy Lindsay and letters by Lucas Catoni. All I will say we get the Jon Stewart part of the story, because he is in this story. And there is still a little bit of cutting back and forth between a couple of things, or well, I guess between the past and the present, as it were. But from what we get out of this, we kind of get hinted on something that I think we who probably know a little about Green Lantern mythos would probably understand, would probably get, that the characters in the story are trying to figure out because of what's going on. And I think I might have figured out, not necessarily fully figured out, but I'm thinking I might see why a certain thing is happening to certain characters because of what's going on in this. I don't have any proof of it, but something about it kind of seems not quite as it seems, put it that way, with what happens to certain characters. That being said, we see a fake Funko get tossed about, so that's always kind of funny. Like I said, there's still a little bit with Hal and Joe kind of squaring off in each other, and then, like I said, the majority of it is kind of getting to see what happens with Jon Stewart in this story. And like I said, without spoiling anything, I'll just let that be that. Next up, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles X Naruto #4 of 4. That's right, folks. It's up. It's over. But that doesn't mean this is probably the end of it. I mean, it is the end of this story, but it's, as these things tend to happen, there's a little something that's in there that might spark a new crossover between the two franchises at some point. But this was written by Caleb Goldner, with art by Hendry Presetia, colors by Raul Angulo, and letters by Ed Dukeshire. And it's basically the big fight issue with everybody versus mutated Shredder. There's some definite anime / Naruto bits when in a couple of modern logs that happened during the course of this. But for the most part, it is basically the big knockdown, drag out end fight that would normally end an arc of an anime. And of course, I'll spoil this part. It ends in pizza, so you can't really go wrong with that. But like I said, there feels like there is at least one little nugget that happens near the end of the story that could prompt another crossover between the two franchises. Will that happen? We'll see. Next up, Birds of Prey #22. Bling. Written by Kelly Thompson with art by Samir Basri, inks by Vincente Cifuentes, and boy, did Did I butcher that one? Colors by Adriano Lucas and letters by Clayton Cowles. So after the events of last issue, the birds are out looking for Barda, who's been downed, but may possibly not be out. And of course, tensions are high and folks are worried because there's somebody who they don't know who it is, or kind of going after them for reasons, and possibly systematically, as we find out in this particular issue. But you know, so as they search for Barda, you know, they do find some clues as to things that are going on, but also, clues that lead to other traps, and a possible what seems to be a Marvel-like symbiote situation going on, but I'm not too entirely sure. But also has me questioning about the fact that a couple of characters from the past arc coming into play that may or may not have anything to do with it. And of course, Q's Akbar at the end of this. So we should see how that works out in the next issue. Last but not least is Doctor Strange of Asgard, number 4 of 5. Written by Derek Landy, colors by Carlos Magno, color artist Espen Grentichurn, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. So a thing that I said that was probably going to happen because of something Steven did happen, and the folks that he did not want to find out about said thing found out about it, which of course we figured it was going to happen. And what does Steven do? Probably the worst thing he could have done in that situation, but hey, how else are you going to further the story if something like that doesn't happen? But he's still on the case of trying to figure out who murdered this Asgardian person. And I might have said this during one of the other issues that we talked about of this. I feel like in true mystery fashion, it's probably the first person you meet, because there is a couple of people that are giving up suspiciousnesses. One in particular more than other, but in this particular issue, this other side character that Steven's been working with is kind of giving up suspiciousness. And I would not be and that is the first person that Steven met outside of, you know, well, it's not Thor, because obviously he's known Thor forever, but the first new person that he's met here that may or may not have something to do with it, but who's to say? But trying to find out who framed not Roger Rabbit, but Loki and himself for a murder, and like I said, they get clues as to, you know, they get more clues as to who didn't do it as opposed to who did, but also we get hints here to who possibly could have done it outside of them too. And Clea shows up, so that's always great. And I kind of wonder what the hell, if we are ever going to see what was going on with what she's dealing with during all of this, because it sure did seem like a what if type situation with what she was, what we saw her fighting. But I guess we may or may not ever see that. And that, folks, are the books for me. Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
I mean, you don't necessarily have to do your pictures again, but if you want to, because you already said your Kliq, so.
Yeah, no, my Kliq is, of course, Immortal Thor number 24. Took my breath away of reading that book. It's so good. But Imperial number 1 of 4 is a great start. Marvel Knights: The World to Come number 1 of 6 is a great, you know, it's a step down a what if story trail. And you know, I actually liked Storm, but I think it helped me to read like 3 issues in a row.
Yeah,
Storm number 9 was good, you know. Sometimes that helps. It helps to read, you know, to kind of binge these things as opposed to reading them month by month.
Sometimes.
But yeah, you know, some strong books out this week for me.
Yeah, we probably both would have added or at least to our reading, Gotcha Man, because in a similar situation, it would have taken us 3 issues. Well, 2 for me, but technically 3 issues to catch up,
Right.
including the current one that came out this week.
Right.
So, but hey, by the time the next one happens, and hopefully we don't have that issue, it'll work its way out. For myself, and like Agent 70 did say, his Kliq was Immortal Thor number 24. My potentials are Absolute Green Lantern was one of them. I kind of enjoyed that. Believe it or not, and believe it did happen, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and X Naruto number 4 of 4 of Imperial definitely was one of them, and Marvel Knights the World to Come number 1 of 6. I did enjoy Star Trek. The Lower War stuff was pretty interesting, and that was good too. But in relation to some of these other ones, surprisingly enough, I can't really give it, put it up there like that. So for my Kliq of the week, it will be, I feel like if I say I want to, somebody's going to say, you know what, that's not a surprise. And you know what, I'm going to do it anyway, because whatever. So mine is Marvel Knights, The World to Come, number 1 of 6. With Imperial number 1 being a very, very strong second on that. And I hadn't had a chance to read Storm, so that might have been up there, but who knows if that was the case. And with that, folks, those are our Kliqs of the weeks and our books of the week. We're going to get over into the news section, but first an ad read.
Alrighty, our first ad read of the night is for Blue Apron's meal delivery service, Blue Apron. Fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron. Always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
Cinematic news is we do about this time. Hey, I forgot to ask you, Agent 70, when we were talking about the Ballerina. Did you get a lot of horror movies previews ahead of your movie?
Not a lot, but there were some. And it's not a big surprise because ultimately the September-October scheduling kind of lends itself to like the summer trailer season.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the ones I saw, a couple of them were coming out in August. I'm saying, like, there's a lot of horror movies coming out. One of them by a person from a sci-fi spinoff that I wasn't expecting to see as directing. So that was kind of funny. But yeah, that was interesting to notice. Anyway, cinematic news, folks. We start off with Fantastic Four director Matt Shakman reveals the quote-unquote magical comics that inspired the film in, quote, small and large ways. So, yeah, I was actually trying to look through this article. As we know, Fantastic Four First Steps is coming. Not surprised there. And we'll just go ahead and say it, that movie protocol will be in effect for that. We've already discussed this prior to the show, but you kind of figured that was going to happen anyway. That being said, though, it says beyond his extensive resume, Shakman's biggest qualifications for the job is his love for the Fantastic Four comics, as demonstrated in the foreword of the filmmaker penned. The foreword the filmmaker penned for the new Marvel Premiere Collection release, Fantastic Four Solve Everything, which apparently Variety says is exclusively previewing. Let's see, the volume goes on sale June 3rd, which I guess would be yesterday, a couple of days ago, as of we were recording this. It is a streamlined collection of fanciful comics published between 2009 and 2011. Issues 570 and 588, written by Jonathan Hickman, with art by Dale Eaglesham, Neil Edwards, and Steve Epting, and cover art by Joe Quesada. And then it goes in to talk about his forward, Shackman's forward, singling out Hickman's work, which, sure, you can read his quote there because I won't go into it. And then I guess you even get the forward from said thing in this article in its full. So there you go. You can read all of that at your leisure. Next up.
Alrighty, another key WandaVision character is set to reportedly appear in the upcoming Vision Quest, the working title for the new Disney Plus series. According to a trusted scooper, after a 4-year absence, Tommy Maximoff is set to make his return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe in Vision Quest. The scooper at Comic Book Movie is reporting that actor Ruarid Malika, who was cast as the character Tucker back in February, will actually be playing Tommy Maximoff in Vision Quest. Okay.
They keep going back and forth about the whole working title thing, which I know it is, but everything other things we've seen officially has just said Vision. So we still don't know what the actual title is going to be. Is it just going to be Vision or Vision Quest? Which
right,
Vision Quest is probably as good a name as anyone, given it what they're working with. Yeah. So yeah, I guess it makes sense. We got Billy back, so I guess and he was looking for Tommy, and people have said that that was going to spill over into the search.
Right.
So makes sense, that being the case. Next up, The Legend of Kingdom Come is a much watched for fans of comic book history, according to the CBR article, and this is actually a review apparently of the documentary, which I guess that is out there and you can watch or buy from
right.
what I looked at, because we knew it was a thing. I think we had talked about it in the past that they were making a documentary on the Kingdom Come event, written by Mark Waid and Alex Ross doing on art, which I don't think I still have yet to read all of. I think I might have started reading it and didn't. But regardless, there is there's documentaries out there and a bunch of notable people that are in said documentary, including the writer and artist. And there's a trailer attached to this article if you want to, at the very least, check out the trailer. And I think there's probably a link to where you can get the thing, because it was a Kickstarter, and I know it's out there for sale in various ways.
That's wild that you haven't read this yet.
There's a lot of them. I mean, there was one of the ones.
It's only 4 issues.
Yeah, but I don't know. But also there's a lot of DC stuff I haven't read, so that's not surprising either. But also, I'm fairly certain it was on the list of stuff that we would have covered during the Treasure Edition or through those Evergreen things we were doing.
Gotcha. I mean, I read those books, the Kingdom Come books, as they were coming out. Right, I collected them as they were coming out. I have the individual issues. I kind of laugh at there's a blurb in here about how Kingdom Come first appeared as a trade paperback in 1997, and since then it's never been out of print. I get that's why, but I'm like, wait, I had the 4 issues before that, but obviously they did have to go out of print and then go into print as a trade. So.
Right, and probably whoever's writing this was probably of a younger age for that to be the case.
Right.
I guess. Either way, I know one of these days will probably get around to it. Like, I know bits and pieces from it, like or kind of the basic premise of it, sort of. But yeah, I never actually read it. One of these days, though, it'll happen. Anywho's, sure. Next up. Is it you?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up now. Oh, yeah. 7 animated Superman movies heading to Max next month ahead of the James Gunn DCU blockbuster in theaters. So, let's see. So the animated movies are Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, Superman Unbound, The Death of Superman, Reign of the Supermen, Superman Red Sun, Superman Man of Tomorrow, and Batman and Superman Battle of the Super Sons. They're going to arrive on Max on June 1st. Remember, Gun Superman, the DCU movie, is slated to hit theaters on July 11th. That's probably our next movie protocol week.
Yeah, I guess so. The weird thing about this is, but we know Max has been fucking up, and so Zaslaw, XYZ, whatever. Most of this stuff, half of the stuff was on Max prior to their butchering of it, because I happen to know for a fact Public Enemies and Unbound, and I think that's the Superman stuff was on there. The rest of them maybe not, and Battle of the Supersons definitely was on there, but so I guess they must have at some point took them off and now putting them back on as if that was something
right. That's what it is. It's the appearance that it's a big move.
Right. That shouldn't have been taken off in the first place.
Yeah.
So in news, HBO Max, speaking of, is down to its final Cartoon Network classics following big removals. So let's see. Talk about the changes going through. Talked about it going back to HBO Max. And apparently the last one left is Courage the Cowardly Dog, which I know is a show that people younger than us really liked. So, and according to this article, mind you, so it's definitely probably written by some youngsters of that age. Currently, Courage the Cowardly Dog is the final of the, quote, true classic shows that HBO Max has in its library after all this time, at least in the U.S. Again, that is the article writer saying that, and not me.
Hyperbole.
A little bit, maybe a little bit. Because I feel like there are probably way better shows that definitely have been taken off of that stuff before this. But if it is the last one on there, then it at least has that title. Classic. I don't know about that. But again, younger folks. Either way, next up,
Transformers Cyberworld animated series and toy line are set to launch on July 12th. Hasbro is launching Transformers Cyberworld on July 12th, a new CG animated series aimed at kids aged 6 to 11. The 36-episode digital series will roll out on the official Transformers YouTube channel through summer 2026. Okay. Each episode runs a whole 5 minutes. Good Lord.
Oh, gee. That's boy, that's a whole lot. I don't know what to do with my extra time from that. What could you possibly do? But then again, attention spans being what they are nowadays.
Wow. Yep.
Also are another things, and or probably the fact that they didn't want to, they didn't want to plunk out any money for anything significant. That's just me editorializing while I'm putting something in the news section real quick that I think Agent 70 probably has already seen. Next up, though, that's not it. I'm sure he'll be glad that I got this one and not him.
Yes.
Nkute, I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I apologize. Gatwe leaves Doctor Who at Disney Plus and the BBC in Twist Regeneration Sequence. I kind of don't like what they're doing this, but that last time this happened, it opened the door for this. Basically, so when Doctor Who regenerates into a new Doctor, there has been a previous time where the regeneration went back to a previous iteration of the Doctor, or a Doctor, excuse me. Let me rephrase that. And in this particular case, spoiler alert. Sorry, folks, but after 2 seasons, Mr. Gatwa is leaving, and the regeneration apparently turned into Billy Piper's character of Rose, who was the companion of the Doctor when Christopher Eccleston was the Doctor, which I think was the ninth Doctor, or when they brought the New Who back. So that's going to be slightly confusing. But also I know she's been a fan of the show since she was on it, so there's a whole thing with that. But regardless, although this article is saying it appears that it's not technically confirmed that Piper will be the next Doctor, even though, well, technically, if there was a regeneration and it turned into that person, sure it is. But if people are keeping up with the show, we'll find out what it is, because I'm not caught up. So there is that. And I know there was another statement from Mr. Gatway about the regeneration and him leaving the show and the social, but I didn't put it in the thing. So there is that. Next up, though,
Shin Godzilla 4K remaster is going to hit theaters this August. So, let's see. G-Kids is bringing Shin Godzilla back to theaters across North America on August 14th with a 4K remaster, originally released in 2016. Let's see here. Details. Well, it's just a 4K remaster. Just, look for it in your local listings.
Yep, indeed. Or unless you're one of us who has a physical copy of it as it were.
Same.
Yes. Hey, folks, were you looking to have some VR troopers in your life? Yes. All right. Well, guess what? You can, if you have the Roku Channel.
Wait.
So yeah, wait. I thought of something in the chat, but I did not. So yeah, VR Troopers, both seasons are on the Roku Channel if you have access to, if you have a Roku account and or a Roku stick or what have you. But also it's out there on YouTube, so I mean, but still, if you want it in a more legalish, I guess, means, then yeah, you can go to the Roku Channel and get them. Of course, we have a link to that in the show notes. If you're watching the video version, you can see said link. Next up,
One Piece Season 2 debuts first look at Tony Chopper. Okay, so this is the live action, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Ahoy Straw Hats, a cute toddler-sized friend, will join One Piece when the live-action series returns for Season 2 in 2026. Okay. So this was announced during 2025, the live event on May 31st. And let's see. Stars of the series previewed what's to come, including a first look at the latest character to board the series, Tony Chopper. Okay.
And speaking of, in that respect, the anime version of Tony Chopper reacts to the live action Chopper's debut, apparently. And as we get over into anime news, by the way, with that last one, nice. See, Netflix confirmed that the American actress Michaela Hoover is providing Chopper's voice. So I guess that's the animated Chopper's voice. Or no, excuse me, that's the live action CGI Chopper's voice. I guess. So I guess I'm assuming it is the same voice as the animated version, or the English version. That I don't know. I don't watch One Piece, man. Don't ask me. But regardless, that's that was amusing to hear about the like the animated version, talking about the live action version's debut. That's cute. Next up,
Solo Leveling was not America's most streamed anime series of the year. So what was? Let me open this article and find out.
well,
So, so the Nielsen first ever comprehensive multi-platform ratings, which track viewing across broadcast, cable, and streaming for 35 days post-premiere, tells a different story about America's actual viewing habits. So let's see.
Didn't stop none of these people from voting on that Crunchyroll Awards.
Yeah.
Which I think that's part of their point in this article.
Yeah. Okay, so right, so we have the overall list.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the anime that beat it? That's what I'm looking. They buried it in this
Dan.
article. Oh, it was Dan. Ah, gotcha. All right, cool.
I believe that was the case. Yeah, because they bring that up later on down in an article, and it, like you said, it is buried because it's
right. And Dan's anime adaptation is across multiple streamers. It's on Netflix and Crunchyroll.
Right. So hence the reason probably why.
Yep.
Another reason why it was probably streamed more.
Yeah, it's more accessible.
Mm-hmm. So, but we're going to push on to the comic book news. Diamond cancels all orders from Marvel, Boom, Dark Horse, IDW, and more, according to this Bleeding Cool article. So apparently they have issued a statement to comic book retailers. It follows Penguin Random House stating that they were canceling all Diamond third-party sub-distribution from the exclusive comic book publishers. Diamond has confirmed the news, but also how wide-ranging it is and how many publishers were Penguin Random House exclusive and now no longer available at all through Diamond and its new owner Ad Populum. They state, quote, "As a follow-up to our May 23rd communication, we want to provide an important update regarding orders for PRH titles. We are canceling all open PRH orders for product with an on-sale date of after June 25th. This includes titles from the publishers that I mentioned, but does not affect Diamond UK, with whom Penguin Random House continues to work with." And again, those are the ones that I've named and a few others that you may or may not know, including Tokyo Pop, Square Enix, Marvel Press, Corden Shaw, and some others. So a lot of people got affected on this one, I guess.
Yep.
They conclude saying, "We will continue to work with publishers to address the disruption and will share additional guidance as it becomes available. Thank you for your understanding and partnership." Yeah, there you go. So
sure.
So if you're
understanding, that's I think an overstatement.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, so look out for that in the the end of this month. I was about to say I can't say it harkens back to COVID because we didn't have that happened for a different reason, a totally different reason.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's any major disruptions, I guess we'll find out in a couple of weeks, won't we? Anyway, next up,
another iconic. Oh my God, with the overstatements here. Another 90s franchise is making a comeback in 2025. You're going to have to call it a comeback. They have not been here for years. IGN apparently is exclusively revealing the first details about IDW publishing and Mattel's upcoming Street Sharks comic. Street Sharks is a continuation of the original animated series, which lasted for all of 3 seasons from 1994 to 1997. This 5-issue limited series is written by Stephanie Williams and illustrated by Ariel Medel. The first issue features cover art by Philip Murphy, Elizabeth Beals, Kevin Anthony Catalan, and Kari Randolph. Street Sharks 94 to 97, which explains exactly why this was beyond my age range.
Pretty much. Like, I've heard of it. I ain't never watched it. But hey, shout out to the creative team. That's good for them.
Yep.
But yeah, and yeah, just like I said, just like we said with other stuff, yeah, this is definitely leaning towards a very much younger crowd. Because, yeah. Anywho's, let's see. Image Comics celebrates 10, 20, 30-year milestones with facsimile issues. Let's see. So yeah, Image Comics, according to this press release, will celebrate the milestone anniversaries of a number of best-selling perennial favorite series and iconic soon-to-be adapted titles with the release of special, highly collectible facsimile issues next month. Excuse me. The facsimile editions will present some of the most beloved, critical, hence why I said it's press release, because yes, critically acclaimed Image Comics to a new audience of readers and provide longtime fans a chance to experience owning a replication of the original first printing debut issue that started it all. There will be a special floral variant and blank sketch version for each. This series included in this exciting lineup of facsimiles are Astro City, Descenders, Fell. I'm not giving the creative team, sorry. Godland, Hunter Killer, I Hate Fairyland, which I think is still going on, and Monstrous is also still going on. Paper Girls, I believe. Shout out to Tim Dog, who I think he really liked that one. Am I missing one? No. That's Revival, The Old Guard, Tokyo Ghost, Witchblade, and I believe that's it. So I feel like I was gonna say there's something missing, but also I don't think that was Image, because there was a book that I really liked, but it wasn't Image. That probably should fall under that. Nevertheless, if you're interested, you can see the covers for that stuff and check that out when they come out. Next up.
All right, just 1 second. So Marvel made a I don't say, like I said, hyperbole here, folks. Marvel made a change to Sentinels that changes a little bit. So bottom line here is that in a recent issue of X-Men number 15, it's been discovered that the concept of a Sentinel did not start with the Bolivar Trask Sentinels, but rather it looks like they have been employing humans as to hunt mutants and calling them Sentinels for a while, right? So that's really what it comes down to.
Oh.
That's a bit. That's where a bit of that flashback comes in.
Yay. Okay. Hey, do me Age of 7. Do me a favor and take the next one for me, please.
All right, one moment. I will pull that up. A new, potentially not immortal Thor arrives in August. So, this is a media release. So Thor's impending demise and the pages of Al Ewing's Immortal Thor has just been teased for months. Now we're going to learn about his coming rebirth. Following Immortal Thor number 25 in July, Ewing will launch a new run of Thor alongside artist Pasquale Ferry, who makes a thunderous return to the character following his acclaimed work during Matt Fraction's Thor run. So, let's see here. This August 27th, end of August. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Good to see Al Ewing still on it.
Absolutely.
I need to catch up with Immortal Thor, but anyway.
Well, you've got a little bit. I was about to say that this gives you a little bit of a break because it's a month. It gives you a month off basically, because you can catch up to 24. You read 25, which is the lead into the book that's coming out in August. So that so while there's no publishing break between the two series, you get a little bit of a break now because you know what's going to happen, and where that's going to go before you get to the new number 1 in August.
Sure. Thunderbolt and Lightning, very, very lightning Thor. Okay.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Are we going to start singing now? No, Mamma Mia.
Maybe. Miss Marvel's mutant powers are finally
Beelzebub as a devil. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I'd be more upset if you hadn't done that, honestly. Like, you know the deal. Anyway, Miss Marvel's mutant powers are finally revealed, but what are they? Which is the question I wanted to ask last week when I mean, actually I know the answer to that question, but also, well, one, shout out to our boy Tim Dark 98 who wrote this. And that just happened to be the case. But this is spoilers for Giant Size X-Men #1 that came out last week that I talked about, and I don't know if Agent 70 had a chance to actually.
I haven't finished reading it. I opened it, and
Okay.
I need to get back to reading it.
Okay, well, so this is what I basically all I'll say is this is what I teased last week with what's going on. Something that we knew was coming at some point may have made itself known, but still kind of unclear, but also kind of familiar. I'll put it that way. And that's all I'll say about that. Before, so the Agent 70 can read it and get back with me on that one. Next up, though.
One moment. All right. So, this is weird. Marvel Rivals goes manga in a new comic from Peach Momoko and 3 other Japanese artists that reveals several new in-game costumes. Oh, synergy.
Yeah.
Peach Momoko has designed 3 new Marvel Rivals skins and has enlisted a trio of manga artists to help show them off in a new comic. This new comic will be coming out in under the title Marvel Rivals Ignite #1 goes on sale June 11th. Okay.
Yeah. And now we're going to do something unprecedented, actually, for this next story. So first of all, I'm going to talk about it, but I don't want Agent 70 to do anything outside of listening, first of all. A couple of days ago, as of recording, there was a new Marvel fighting game just announced. It's called MARVEL Tokon Fighting Souls. It was announced during PlayStation's State of Play. In fact, Agent 70, you are about to... Let's see, here we go. If you would just peep that screen out.
Okay.
And hopefully this won't bleed back into the recording too much. But we're going to sit here and watch this. I've already watched this already, but I want Agent 70 to give them some impressions of watching this trailer.
Okay, I clicked watch stream.
All right, here we go.
自由のために戦う。
さあ、お手並み拝見といこう。
君のことは親友だと思っているが、やるしかないようだな。
ビブラニウムのシールドだけでは私のアーマーには勝てないぞ。よし、
本気でやるぞ。
失礼。
くらえ。おい、ためろ。耐えてみせろ。
任せてちょうだい。パンチ。私の名前の通り、マーベラス。
親愛なるスパイダーマンだ。スパイリーステンス。今日もお見事大勝利。
やれ、
俺とやり合うってか。調子が出てきたぜ。
ウェブショットだ。
俺様の名はスターロード。胸に刻んでおきな。
覚悟しやがれ。シュートベルトシュートサラミ。イーストロスリーのスペシャルメニューお見舞いするな。いやー、ピリピリ。その目に焼き付け貧弱なる。やれ。海の
援護する。風よ、あれ狂え。たとえ人々に嫌われていても、私は世界を守る。さあ、耐えられるかしら。こりゃ、
正義のために。これが私のとっておきだ。こっちだよ。全てをやっ尽くすな。
抱かれなさい。せや。
またな、ベイベー。
我々のチームワークは絶対に破れない。
マーベルトーコンファイティングソウルズ。プレイステーション。
Okay. Okay, I'll tell you that it's nice to see Robbie Reyes getting some shine.
Indeed, that is also true. So, so Marvel Tokon Souls Fighting
I
Souls.
can click close stream.
Yes, you can. Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, like I said, is a 4v4 tag team fighter, Marvel style, made by Arc System Works, who made, you know, Guilty Gear, stuff like that, but also Dragon Ball Fighter Z, as some folks might know. And I have likened this to Marvel Fighter Z because obviously, if you've seen the trailer, if you watch the video version, and hopefully it doesn't get dinged, you've also seen the trailer with us. But yeah, Arc System, I was hoping that Arc System Works would do something like this. And apparently after the State of Play, or right after this was announced at the State of Play, or during the State of Play, excuse me, when this was announced, there was a little bit, you know, talking with some folks at Arc System Works and Marvel Games about it, and talked about how the collaboration kind of came about and whatnot. So that is also out there for folks who want to check that out. But so far, it's only going to be, it's available on PS5 and PC, and it's going to be released 2026. But I cannot wait for this, because if you saw, like I said, if you saw the trailer as we did in Agent 7 Ninja said, you notice the Marvel versus Capcom minus the Capcom part of it, which is cool. And as of right now, the only confirmed fighters are the ones that showed up in the trailer.
In the trailer, right? It's an interesting mix.
So, and I think from what I've saw and what I've seen reported elsewhere, there's more folks to come.
I'm sure there has to be.
Yeah,
as DLC.
No, not even DLC. Just the complete roster hadn't been put out there yet.
Right, but I'm sure there's going to be DLC.
Oh, most certainly. And actually, some of these gallery picks I might get for virtual backgrounds. But that's beside the point, and that's just me. But yeah, like I said, I was excited about that. I watched this trailer probably about 2-3 different, well, outside of this other time that I just watched it at least 3 different times. Because I was happy to see this.
Right. Listen, at the end of the day, I'm not surprised it's not Marvel versus Capcom.
No, it could be another one coming, but
you know, because obviously we saw a renewed interest in it in Marvel versus Capcom style, you know, with the re-release of the PS5 generation of the older games. But now with Marvel Rivals, and now that we've gotten you know, people kind of hooked on the style of Marvel versus Capcom, it's kind of fun to see an updated version of it. You know, 4-on-4 is a little nuts.
Yeah. And with
that's a lot of tagging in and out.
And like I said, with Arc System Works, who's doing it, who, like I said, if you've not played Dragon Ball Fighter Z or Guilty Gear, because like I know there are crazy Guilty Gear people out there, but the more accessible one would probably be Dragon Ball Fighter Z. At this point, you get to see how crazy and cool looking this could potentially be. So, like I said, I'm excited for this, and I can't wait for this, and I'm sure I'll suck at it, but I'll still play it. But I wanted, I was going to do this ahead of the show so that Agent 7 to see it, but I was like, I wanted to get his live impressions of it.
Sure. I own Dragon Ball Fighter Z. I just haven't really set my mind to playing it.
You should check it out a little bit. Yeah, you can get in there and mix it up and see what you think. Like I said, it'll give you a sense. Like, that's 3-on-3, but still, like I said, it'll give you the sense of how this is going to play out, because the same people made it.
Gotcha.
So, and it's good.
It's also nice to see Kamala Khan getting some shine in there too.
And it makes sense too, because I mean, they would need somebody for a range, like a Dhalsim / Mr. Fantastic / whoever. So why not go with Kamala? So yeah, enjoy it. Of course, Storm's still there, Cap's still there, you got Iron Man still there, and Spidey. So you know,
and Spidey,
yeah,
right.
The old,
you can definitely see the Marvel versus Capcom influence. You know, especially in the way Robbie Reyes plays, because the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider is in Marvel versus Capcom.
Right. Yeah. So let's say great stuff. Good trailer. I'm looking forward to this one. I'm like I said, I have no doubt this is going to be a pretty good game. Will it make
Sure.
Will it come out by Evo next year and make it to Evo? We don't know, but you know.
Listen, I've got a PS5. Let's hope it's still good for this game.
Oh, I'm sure it will be. Oh yeah, I'm fairly certain it will be. So, but anyway, moving right along to the rest of the comic book news. I'll go ahead and do this so you can get situated. But Marvel Legends Capcom style Wolverine versus Silver Samurai 2-pack is on sale. Which we have been talking about in the past couple of weeks anyway, so that's fine. It was set to launch on June 5th, so that's out there. You can buy it. And oh yeah, and there's some. This article also talks about the Marvel Legends Fantastic Four First Steps figures that are coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, $30. No, wait, it's already out. I'm sorry. Don't have a price on any of them, but yeah, they're out there apparently also, including a Silver Surfer, the Shallowball Silver Surfer from the movie. So there you go. So that's already out there, and yeah, there you go. Next up.
All right, so I'm skipping down to an RC Spider-Man 2099 Spider Bot. Is a 3,000 unit limited edition. Okay. So this is a Spider Bot, but with the Miguel Spider-Man 2099 logo on it. Okay.
Surprised they didn't go with Penny.
So let's see. Right, so this is a Spider-Man 2099 edition of the Spider Bot. Let's see. It's an interactive remote control bot. Looking for price tag $89.99. You can pick one up at the Disney store while the supplies last.
Because of course. Next up, though, we got first look, or this site got a first look of the exclusive Void Rivals Jetfire with Derek and Salilla package that is going to be a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. I can't remember if I asked our friend Matt Wang for this, because I know we asked him for something. We had actually
Cold Slither.
Oh yes, that's right. That's absolutely right. Totally forgot about that. So yeah, I might have to add this. Might possibly have to add this to my asking list of his. But we'll see about that. I don't know. It's like is there a price on this thing? Because I know this can't be cheap.
No, it can't be.
Yeah,
can't be, because it's a Jetfire plus the two little figures too.
Right, and Jetfire was. It's probably a smaller scale Jetfire though, because the original one was slightly bigger, but it might not be. I don't know. And yeah, but still, coming with the two figures is still, it's still going to be a little bit spendy. So we'll see. We'll still see how that works out. Next up, though.
So we get our first full look at the much anticipated Studio Series 86 Leader Megatron. So let's see here. This is similar to the OG cartoon design. Looking for price point. No price point. But he does transform into a tank, apparently.
Yes. Boo. I'm trying to remember. I think those things are like 25, 30 for the Studio Series. I don't remember. But yeah, it'll be between 25 and 40. But for the Studio Series, I think it's probably like 25 or 30. So,
okay.
Something like that. Regardless, that's out there. He's a tank, not a gun. That's whatever. Next up, though, there's a pre-order. I guess following leaked listings from some Asian site are stock images for Transformers: Age of the Primes 4-pack, and there's images for Ultra Magnus Autobot Bumper, Horrible, and Nemesis Prime in that 4-pack. Apparently, and the pre-orders are open now at Target.com, with shipping set for October 5th, and the price being $89.99, $80K, $90. So, sure. There you go. Next up.
Wow, so Iron Studios has debuted a Mirage Studios Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles statue of all 4 turtles that's inspired by the cover of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, initially published by Mirage Studios in 1984. So now you can get a recreation of that cover in statue form for $499.
Yeah,
Pre-orders are already live with a first quarter 2026 release. This is 1/10 art scale. It's pretty cool looking.
Yeah.
You got that scratch. More power to you.
Right. Yeah, this is what the thing that we was hinted at last week, because we didn't actually have this because it came out after the fact, and we kind of speculated that it was going to be the original Turtles look. So there is that. That's a lot of money. New DC Superpowers T-Craft arrives from McFarlane for Mr. Terrific, just in time for the Superman movie, of course. If you're watching the video version, you can see, the box cover for said craft, and there is the Mr. Terrific figure and the craft together.
Oh, so it's like a flying chair.
Kind of like a flying egg? Yeah, because, yeah.
It's a flying chair egg. I gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, because I guess, yeah. Well, because you see him in kind of a chair in the movie, and I don't know if if that part flies out, but this is more of the egg part about it. So I guess I don't know.
Gotcha.
Because there was nothing denoted that this egg thing was anywhere near those trailers, but gotta leave something, I guess. But yeah, if you're interested in this. The bundle will cost $30 and is set for release in June of this year. So it might be out there right now if you're interested. And last but not least, Agent 70 gets this one.
Oh, Wu-Tang Clan's new video game project is for the culture because it should be. So let's see. Announced simultaneously at Summer Games Fest and at the opening performance of the group's farewell tour, Rise of the Deceiver is a new game project, and it's part. Let's see. So the game's developers are at Brass Lion Entertainment, and it is an action co-op game in which players imbued with powers bestowed upon them by the legendary members of the Wu-Tang Clan fight against invaders that wish to corrupt their home. It's been in development already for 3 years and started as a companion piece to Angel of Dust, a movie produced by Ghostface Killah and directed by the RZA. Okay.
Yeah, this was announced at Summer Games Fest, which kind of happened tonight as we're recording this, but I haven't had a chance to check it out. But I happened to get spoiled on this before we started taping. So, and in line with our interests, let's just say. It may not be comic book related to a point,
right?
But hey, Wu-Tang's for the kids, and they're big comic book fans, so we can spin it. I haven't watched this trailer yet either, so I have no idea. But it's got to be better than Wu-Tang Shaolin Style, which now I guess I should find a copy of and play it on stream. That game was not that great, also. No. I remember playing it, but still, it's for the culture, and we'll have to check it out at some time. And that, folks, is that ends us with the news. Let's get one last ad read, please.
All righty. Our last ad read of the night is for Amazon. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. That's at cspn.us. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Now remember, if you shop at Amazon often, bookmark the link or add it as your homepage so that you can help the CSPN each time you order. We thank you for your support. Amazon.com through cspn.us. Do it today.
All right, folks, that's it. We'll be back next week at our regular scheduled time. I'm believing.
Let's hope. Let's hope.
Which we'll get to in a second. But first, I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can also find me at News and Need on Twitter and Blue Skies. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
All right.
And Agents_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. You can also find us at the Coles. Well, you can find this podcast at the Coles Little Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
US. You could also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coles Little Podcast Network SoundCloud page. But also, you can find us recording every Thursday night, mostly every Thursday night anyway, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles and youtube.com/TheKliqNation.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts. And when it comes to streaming, click that notification button so you know when we're on live. Do it on Twitch and YouTube.
Yes. All right, folks. That is it for this week. Again, like I said, we'll be back. The same bat time, same bat channel, all that kind of good job, good stuff. This has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
My time is up. Peace up to Brooklyn.
Good evening, Rick. Would you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your evil mind?